There are two kinds of men in this world, those that have fallen into the abyss and those that will never look into the abyss because they are too afraid to. But what happens when the abyss looks back? This is a question that has haunted me for many years. It was Dostoevsky who first warned us about it, but how relevant is his warning today? How can we protect ourselves from such an occurrence? And most importantly, what do we do if it does happen? Welcome back, everyone. Before we begin, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And now let's get straight into it. I remember the first time I came across the term abyss. I think I was 18 or 19. It was during my bachelor's degree in psychology. It was a class on abnormal psychology. We were learning about schizophrenia. One of the symptoms of schizophrenia is that you can fall into what is called a psychotic abyss. The psychotic abyss refers to a point where your thoughts are chaotic, incoherent, delusional, confused, and disconnected from reality. As a student, I thought to myself, I hope I never experience that. But then I had a second thought. A much darker thought occurred to me. I wondered whether some people fall into the abyss not because they have a mental illness, but because life itself has dealt them such a bad hand that they've been forced to jump into the abyss. In other words, that there are things in life so terrible, so traumatic, and so unbearable that if you have to face them, you will be psychologically destroyed. Fast forward to the present day, and this is exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the abyss. We're going to talk about how bad things in life can be, so devastating that they can drive a man into insanity, and what every man must do to avoid falling into the abyss. In the book Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky says, "Man cannot be happy unless he causes suffering. All the happiness in the world stems from some sort of suffering." When I read these words for the first time, I couldn't believe what I was reading. Is Dostoevsky really suggesting that we need to cause others pain to be happy? What kind of nonsense is this? And then I realized that he wasn't talking about physical pain. He was talking about psychological pain. For a moment, consider how true this statement actually is. Have you ever found yourself being entertained by someone else's misfortune? How many times have you watched a video of some sort of human error where the person messes up and gets humiliated? Do you find yourself feeling pleasure when this happens? Why do you think this is? Well, the reason is simple. There is nothing more satisfying than seeing someone else fall, especially someone that is better off than you. Seeing someone fall makes you feel that even though you are down, there is always someone lower than you, someone worse off. And this gives you a sense of comfort. And although it might sound dark and twisted, this is why we love stories like that of the protagonist in Titanic. Why would we want to watch a movie about a rich, spoiled girl who loses everything and has to fight for her survival? Because we know that no matter how tough our lives are, no matter how bad things might seem at times, we can always be worse off. And there is always someone out there that has it far worse than us. However, there is a difference between feeling this way and living this way. While we might take pleasure from watching someone else fall, we don't want to be the ones falling. It is one thing to know that you'll never be as lucky as someone else, but it is a whole different story to experience it firsthand. Think about the millions of men who are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to put food on the table, trying to keep their heads above water just to survive. They're working long hours to pay the bills and provide for their families, all while dealing with the stress of financial instability. On the other side, you have the men who have it all. The men who are financially successful, have loving families, and enjoy their life every step of the way. For the average man, it is easy to feel envious of the man who has it all, especially if he's been struggling for many years to get ahead. When you look at these two types of men, it is natural to think that the man who is jealous should simply be grateful for what he has, because there are people who have it far worse. However, the truth is often much more complicated. You see, the man who struggles financially also deals with feelings of worthlessness, helplessness, and hopelessness. Every day he wakes up wondering how he's going to make ends meet. Every night he goes to sleep worrying about the future. He feels trapped in his situation and believes that there is no way out. This is when he begins to fall. The more he falls, the more hopeless he becomes. He starts to develop negative beliefs about himself. He tells himself that he is stupid, that he doesn't deserve any happiness, and that he's a failure. Now, when he looks at the man who has it all, he doesn't feel inspired at all. Instead, he resents him. He wishes for him to fail, to lose everything. And this is where things start to get dangerous. You see, when you start wishing for another man to lose everything and fall to your level, you are already half in the abyss. The thing is, life tends to go in cycles. The man who is struggling today may be the same man who will have it all tomorrow. It's not impossible for him to become the very man he's ending right now. So what should he do instead? Well, the answer is quite simple, yet extremely difficult. He needs to accept his current situation, look within himself, and realize that the problem is not the other man, but himself. It's not the man who has everything that makes him miserable. It's his own mindset. Once he realizes this, he can start to work on himself, improve his skills, become smarter, and achieve the success he desires. But unfortunately, this is easier said than done. Most men prefer to blame their circumstances rather than themselves. They would rather live in their misery than acknowledge their flaws. And this is what leads them into the abyss. We all know that life is hard. We all face challenges, and we all experience setbacks. But it's our attitude towards these situations that determines whether we will fall into the abyss or come out stronger on the other side. We must learn to accept the things we cannot control, focus on the things we can, and most importantly, cultivate a positive mindset. Only then can we avoid falling into the abyss. The next step to avoiding the abyss is to always remember the 3 circles. Imagine 3 circles, each representing a different aspect of our lives. The first circle is our personal life. It includes our family, friends, and loved ones. The second circle is our professional life. It includes our job, business, and finances. The third circle is our community. It includes our neighbors, colleagues, and acquaintances. Now imagine that the first circle is the only one that we can control. The second circle is the one that we can influence, and the third circle is the one that we cannot control at all. This means that we can't directly affect the actions or opinions of the people in the third circle. However, we can influence the people in the second circle, and we have complete control over the people in the first circle. By focusing on what we can control, we can reduce our anxiety and stress levels, which in turn helps us avoid falling into the abyss. Many men fall into the trap of trying to control everything. They worry about the economy, the government, their colleagues, and even the people they don't know. But by doing so, they lose control of their personal lives. They neglect their families and friends. They sacrifice their values, and they compromise their integrity. In order to avoid falling into the abyss, we must learn to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. We must learn to accept the uncertainty of life and trust in our ability to navigate through any challenges that come our way. By following these steps, we can increase our chances of staying above the abyss and living a fulfilling life. Remember, brothers, life is full of ups and downs. It's normal to feel down sometimes. Just remember to stay grounded, focus on what you can control, and never, ever give up.